Okay, I think I'm capturing now. We're just going to go into doodad. So we've got a doodad here. This is the default setting. I'm just going to save this. I'm going to... Okay. I'm now going to go over to map. There should be the correct doodad in there. Yep, cactus. Delete that. There we go. And plunk. Yes, that seems to be working. Now let's... There we go. Back to tiles. Now... There we go. As one can see, the way the tile system is layered, you've got 3 layers, and on top of that you can place doodads, which are solid. You can't go through a doodad. So you can add your own doodads and all that. This is just the map editor. It'll scroll around like that. This is where you set your tiles. This is where you name it. When you hit save, it automatically save a file with that name. Obviously, you saw how to get a doodad. You hit fill, and whatever layer you're on, it will take whatever your current palette selection is and fill the whole layer with that. Which, whatever you got there, boom, all covered. Load will load a file that you load up from a source in your maps. Not functioning quite yet, so I can't show you that. New, when you hit new, it'll give you a selection of 3 map sizes, which then will create a blank map that you will then go through and fill with whatever. And this is just maps. Missions over here is a separate setup that's not ready for testing yet. This you can, of course, use for whatever you want. And as you can see here, whatever map you've got currently loaded is the one that the mission will be mapped to, essentially. So keep that in mind. Now we got a whole bunch of stuff over here. We've got the unit editor. So this is where you fill in all the fields to build units, buildings, actions. So actions are things like bullets, healing, building, harvesting, stuff like that. There's some generic basic types of actions that you can then in turn use to create different subtypes. So you've got ground actions, you've got air actions. Those are basically your attack actions, right? And you can make all sorts of variations of those easily. You got heal, which doesn't care whether it's ground or air. You've got harvest and build, which you could make variations of, but not a lot of. It's best probably to have just one. But if you wanted to have special builders that had multiple build rates or something, you could. Totally could. Anyway, so moving on. Now, this is the damage effects area. So this is something that you would see when a damage action has collided with something. Is that right? Or was it when it dies? I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the engine will run this when it hits a creature or a building, right? Yeah, so that's how that one works. Doodads again is defined here, maps. Factions. So here, what you'd add is, of course, the name of the faction, the graphic for its construction, how big its harvester loads can be, its max population, and of course, you add a list of all the units, actions, and damage effects for it. Or in buildings, of course. Right. Moving on. Here is where you would load your assets. So you find the asset you want, you load it. It only accepts certain types, so you're only allowed to use PNG files for graphics, and you need to make sure they're in the correct format to work. If they're not the right size, it will look funny, but anyway. For sound, all you've got for sound effects is WAV files. For music, all you use is MP3s. And then there's also text files that you could technically load in. They would go straight into data, the data folder. This automatically loads everything in the right folders for you. Now here's project. This is where you define, the name of your RTS, the faction names, the campaign names, and the resource they fight over. Alright, so you can save it. You can create a new one, which is, defaults to this. You can load one. Now publish is not. It's not working yet. What happens when publish is working is you hit publish. It will create an output of basically the engine and your data and all that and your maps into a folder that you can then give to people, and that will run your RTS. And so this is, you just share this with whoever. That's the point of this whole project. Hope you enjoyed.